Morning and welcome to the Red Mic. These Red Mic messages are leadership and life lessons I've picked up from 25 years as a public servant, 16 years as a youth football coach and scouting volunteer, and 10 years as a mediocre athlete with far more heart than actual physical ability. Today's Red Mic message a little bit about the generation gap. Um, Yesterday, I read an article where a young professional was talking about his disdain of being called sir and mister, and it it kind of struck a chord with me, and I thought I'd talk about it today. um, it seems like a little thing, but I think there may be some possible hiccups in the job world, in your professional life. There might be some broader implications, particularly when you look at uh, the desire, the goal, the push to have a more diverse workplace. You know, because it's an interesting dynamic. You've got baby boomers and Gen Xers, Gen X, on one side, and they tend to prefer a certain level of formality. Titles like Mr., Ms., Sir, Ma'am. You know, to me, it's not just about the the name or the title. It's showing a little bit of respect for the fact that they've had skin in the game for so long that they do have these longer resumes, and um, yeah, they may not understand how to do some of the new more technical stuff, but you know they can still drive a stick shift and you can't. That it's the old joke about the what's a millennial uh, uh, security device for your car. Well, it's stick shift. Um, same sort of thing. You want to confuse a millennial about how to make a phone call, have a have a phone with a dial on it. They're like, "What is this?" And I'm being a little flip, but it does go back to respect. My best friend, I was at his sister's wedding, and this was decades ago, but was at his sister's wedding, and I was a grown man at that point, very young in my professional career, but I was a grown man. And he said, "Pat, we I've known you for 20 something years now. Call me Guy." His name was Guy Fidelli. Uh, just mountain of a man, just fantastic person. He was like, "Call me Guy." And I said, "Okay, Guy, I'll can't do it. Sorry." Just sounded wrong coming out of my mouth. I said, "So sorry about that, Mr. Fidelli. I'm just gonna have to keep calling you Mr. Fidelli." He was like, "All right." He said, "You tried." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, he said, "I'll give it to your mom and dad. They raised you right." I said, "Well, they tried." He said, "Well," he said, "And you tried to do what I asked." He said, "That's fine." I said, "All right." And then I went on to, you know, thank him for inviting me on the day of his daughter's wedding. I'd heard somebody else made the same joke, but it was funny and I had to repeat it. Yes, definitely the name Fideli. He was Italian. Rest his soul. I miss him. He was a great guy. Anyway, back to my, this whole thing reminded me of the scene in Ferris Bueller's Day Off where Cameron is pretending to be Sloane's dad, and he goes, and I'm not going to do the impersonation. It's not good, but he says, "Call me sir," you know, that sort of thing. So we've got millennials and Gen Zers. They're coming in with this whole different attitude, this whole different vibe. They grew up in a world that's a lot more casual, no ties, first names are the norm. Um, Even when they're talking to people in positions of authority. I can't remember which teacher it was, but one of my one of my kids had a teacher and said, "Yeah," and I encouraged them to call me by such and such, and they gave their name and was like, "Oh, I don't like that at all." um, you know, for them, respect is about actions and attitudes more than it is about titles, and I get that and I understand it completely. But when there's a disconnect between the generational ideas of what respect means, you need to have respect for each other, but at the same time, maybe talk about the differences, talk about the preferences. Maybe we in the older generations should talk about why we, value those formal titles, and the younger people can say why they lean towards informality. It's not about who's right or wrong. It's about understanding where the other person, the other generation is coming from. Yes, every workplace should have norms that everybody understands and respects. Maybe it's a mix of both worlds that's the answer. I don't know. Some people might prefer formal titles. Um, Others might say, "Yeah, call me by my first name." I it's funny, growing up, I always used to say, "Yeah, no, Mr. Fortner's my dad." Um, I don't say that anymore, you know. um, but then again, nobody in my job site calls me Mr. Fortner, and I don't have a problem with that. I had a former board member who, if I called him Mr. So and so, and he's a younger guy, um, if I called him Mr. So and so, he would say, "Okay, Director Fortner." And okay, fine, I get it. I'll call you by your first name. And just, you're one of my bosses. I'm just trying to. So try to honor the other person's preference. Um, you as a leader, you can set the tone on being flexible in how you address other people. It's possible to show that you can respect someone deeply without sticking to a rigid formality. It encourages people on your staff to do the same. But at the end of the day, it is about flexibility and compromise. Maybe the younger generation needs to step up a little bit and use formal titles when it matters, especially if it matters to the person to whom they're speaking. While the older generation, we might need to relax a little bit and accept that casual doesn't mean disrespectful. And remember, differences make us stronger, and we should celebrate the fact that we've got so many perspectives in the room and in the nation. And that's today's Red Mike message. I do want to add this, though. Um, I saw that Starbucks is bringing back the pumpkin spice latte today, right? Today. And that's all well and good, but Starbucks, and I'm going to look directly into the camera when I say this, Starbucks, you are dead to me until you bring back the eggnog latte. I said it. I meant it. I don't like your overly roasted coffee anyway. When you roast coffee too much, it might taste stronger, but you're cooking the caffeine out of it. And I'm not drinking it because I particularly love the taste. I want the caffeine, but you are dead to me until you bring back the eggnog latte. Thank you. Rant over. That concludes today's Red Mike message. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it helpful a little bit. I hope that you will join me again tomorrow, roughly this same time. Had a blue screen of death on my computer this morning, so I was like, "Oh, great! I'm going to have to do this on my phone." Rebooted twice. It appears to be working. Microsoft is the devil. Anyway, I appreciate you being here. Please like, follow, and share. The share is very important. Uh, I appreciate y'all. I love you. I'll see you again tomorrow. And don't forget, life is short. Drink the bourbon.